Hi guys, and welcome back or welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Malia Equestrian, and I do videos on a horse I ride named Cider and just my equestrian journey. So, what I'm going to be talking about is what I've accomplished in this past year. I'm doing this because probably by the time I edit this, it'll be like December 29th, and then I'll post it on the 31st for New Year's. And this year has been quite an experience, and I thought it would be fun and also very, useful to look back on the past year. I'm filming this on December 27th, so yeah. So I'm gonna look back on my iPad in the photos to make sure I'm not skipping ahead months, because I know I could probably easily do that. Y'all have never seen my egg chair, I don't believe. Okay, so let's go back to January. Okay, so start of January. Was that in January? No, we're in December. Okay, wait, no, still December. January. Okay, start of January, we moved. This is also going to be just what major things happened in my life this past year that played into the factors in some way. So on December 23rd of that year, we were told we had to move out of our rental house because the owners wanted it for personal use for the next year. So someone is coming. It's really quiet too. Anyways, so we had to move that year, and we, at the barn I was at currently at that time, we were 30 minutes away, 30 minutes. And then when we moved to the school district that we wanted, we were more like an hour and 5 minutes away. So it played into a lot of factors of what happened later in the year, but just mind you, that happened. January, what year is this? January 8th, we went to this farm in Pensacola, and we had our IEA show. This year I was not going to place for regionals or be able to go to regionals or zones, regionals, I don't know, whatever comes second. I was just not gonna be able to go to it because I didn't have enough points, and at that time my farm only went to 3 shows, so but at that show I did get a second in over fences, which was the highest I've ever done. If you didn't know, I started riding back in July of 2020, and it's currently January of 2023. So it's this July will be 3 years of riding. But I was very rushed in my riding. When I started riding in July, two weeks later, I was cantering off the lunge line. I'm a very fast learner. I take things into consideration very easily, and I don't go past it. I follow it very easily so I can keep moving on. That's just how my brain works. I'm not gonna stop, Anyways, started in July, then in October, I started competing for IEA. Worst decision in my career, but I guess it really did shape me to who I am right now, because that year I decided to, I did walk trot canter. My position sucked, only been riding 3 months, worst decision again, but again, it really did shape me. Last show, that in January of 2021, I placed 4th. I never had a cross rails. I never did cross rails. I went straight from walk trot canter to 2 foot. I mean, it worked out because I did place pretty well. I got, over that course of the year, I never didn't place in jumping. That jumping was my strong suit because I didn't get much flat work. Anyways, I got that year in 2 foot, I got a 6th at my first show, and I didn't place in flat that show. Then I got a 6th and a 6th again in flat, and a 6th and a 6th in flat and 5th in jumping. And then the next show I got a 2nd in jumping. Was it a 5th or 3rd? 3rd in jumping, 5th in flat, and 3rd in flat. So it really was a great experience. I wish I had a cross rails experience, but you know, I'm a very competitive person, so if I could move faster, I wanted to, so I did. Anyways, continuing on, at this time, I was also leasing my old lease, Bobby. At this time, I'd been leasing for almost a year, so, you know, it was a lot of just free riding with him. And then as the months went on, I believe February, Bobby started having a bad rejecting problem where we couldn't go a lesson without him rejecting. Mind you, if you knew this horse, he was not a rejector. He never rejected, ever. I'm still questioning why. I do not like how we fixed it. At the time, I just did what I was told. But looking back on it, if I did know what we were doing, probably would have suggested something else. It was nothing abusive. I just believe it was too much for Bobby. The bit we were using was just way too much for him, as he was such a schoolmaster type horse. But anyways, then in March, we went to our first Pensacola show, and we did our first derby at 2-3. This was my first circuit doing 2-3, and I got 6th in that derby out of 19. We placed in the money, so that was fun. Especially for my first ever derby, that was a big confidence booster. We did have a rail in the second round. I believe we would have placed higher if we didn't have that rail, because we did get a score of our highest at the time of a 74 on our first round, but then we scored a 44 in our second round because of the rail. So, you know. Continuing on with that weekend, I got all first in everything for 2-3 hunters and a 2nd in my first equitation challenge. If you didn't know what an equitation challenge is, it is basically a flat class, but then they can ask you certain things, and at that certain time, I believe they asked us to lengthen of striding, mind you, this is all on the flat, and then what the hard test was for the top 3 riders, which I made it into, was do strides, but you have to do 25, then halt, then back up. It was difficult, and I believe I did 27 on accident, which is also probably why I placed 2nd, but I also believe that they did have their scores linked out before anyways. But, you know, if for some reason I did 25 exactly, it would have been, I probably would have placed higher. But, you know, that show was amazing. I literally was so happy with that, because my old trainers told me, they were like, you can do it. I mean, it's more money, but you can do it. Just don't expect to place high, because it's a harder class. And I think by the end of the year in October, there was 28 people in it. So, you know. So at that show, I scored 160 points for the end of the year. Like, because in the circuit, we did pay for points. And that show was a big confidence booster for me, as I was literally the top rider, and I had only been riding for a year and a half at the time. So they're watching Hulu, it's not gonna get better. Okay, anyways, then in April, we went to Poplar Place Farm, which is in Georgia. And at that show, what happened? The show, I did my first hunters class for Sharon Coat at Poplar. And Poplar is a lot. It is very competitive there because Georgia is a big competitive farm area. Florida, not so much. I mean, it is still a lot of competition. But Georgia, my lord, there are so many farms there. Taken from someone who has lived there. I never rode there, but I did live there. Anyways, and we got first in equitation. We got first in an equitation challenge. They didn't ask us much there, so it was pretty simple. But the main thing about that show was me and Bobby went into our first jumper classes because the night before my hunter class ran at 8 o'clock at night for some reason, and it was cold. And I had school on Monday, and on Sunday I did not want to be showing at 8. So I woke up at 6 and showed jumpers for the first time. Mind you, when I got Bobby, he could barely do a 2-foot hunter course because he was so slow. And now I turned him into a 2-foot jumper. Take a moment of appreciation. Anyways, at that time in April, we also went to another Pensacola show, and I placed 6th again in the Derby, and I got all seconds because it was just not my show for some reason. Bobby lost all of his leads. And I placed 5th in the Eck Challenge on one day. It was just not my weekend. I did jumpers again. It was just really not my weekend that week for some reason. In April, we decided to talk to my trainers, and we need to set up something of where I lease a different horse in the future because with Bobby, I could only go up to 2-3, and I was progressing so fast that I had to do jumpers where I needed a 2-6, 2-9 horse. I tried out this horse named Leo that was coming to a barn that is literally a walking distance from my house. We decided against it because it was so much money and we were just not in the financial state at the time, and we probably never will be to lease that horse. Also, I didn't want to lease him, honestly. Yeah, he could do 3 foot, but he also couldn't show. Because last time they brought him, he reared up, and yeah. Anyways, we continued on in April, had a fun show month in April. Then in May, like the next week, we went to the Derby again, and we had a little incident in the trailer with Bobby and another horse that I'm not going to disclose online, but you know. That show we got 3rd in jumpers. Oh my god, not jumpers, 3rd in the Derby out of like 23. That was our best we ever done. We got our highest score of 81. So we did get into the 80s, which is really pretty cool. We were the only person that got into the 80s at that show, like for the Derby. My dad did the dad's class and got 4th out of 11 on Bobby. I stuck with hunters that weekend because of what happened in the trailer, but Bobby was amazing and showed up for me, and got like 3 firsts, 2 seconds, and a third the first day, and champion. Second day, for some reason, I don't get it, we were against Short Stirrup, which is 2 foot. Not my group. I am 13. Short Stirrup is 12 and under. I was 13 at the time. I'm now 14. But I don't get why we were combined. Why couldn't I be combined with White Sands, which was 2-3? I don't know. Anyways, but we did get first in Eck, and we got into thirds. And that was the end of the spring part of the circuit, and then we had the whole summer and August to train. A lot happened in those 3 months. Our plan with Bobby was either we were gonna stick with him all the way to the end of the circuit so we could get high points in jumpers, and like our end of the goal plan was to just do 2 foot jumpers and try to win those higher medals for year end, because I had already had 220 points for hunters at the end of 3 shows, and the girl under me had 13. So it was not very likely that in 3 shows, this random girl was going to come up and get 300 points. It could happen. It just was not very likely. But in June, we did a bunch of camps. I had a bunch of fun with my friends. And then in July, I went to the World Equestrian Center with my old lease horse, Bobby, and we decided to do 3 days of jumpers and 2 days of hunters because 2-foot hunters was not open on the weekdays. Still very lost of why my trainer didn't let me do 2-3. I didn't really ask because I wanted to do jumpers anyways, because jumpers was a lot more fun. But at that time, we got reserve champion. Oh my god, we got reserve champion at WEC in the 2-foot jumpers in the. Oh my god, what was that? I believe we got it in the open, but then again, I don't think we did. We got it in whatever class came second. No, I think it was a child adult class. It wasn't the open, it was the other one. It wasn't youth, but it was like child open. I don't know. Anyways, in that class, to get reserve, we got a second, 2/3, a fourth. 3 days of showing. No, wait. First day we got a third and a fourth. Second class we got a third. So third in that class. Next day we just got a second, which is for that class. So yeah, it was the child one. And the next class we got a third and a fifth, and we got a fifth in that class because I knocked a rail. Guy said if I got third or second or I think a fourth, I would have gotten champion. Because I got the fastest time in the whole thing. If I hadn't knocked the rail, like I got 26 seconds with the nail, without the rail knockdown. So I got 30 seconds with the rail. Oh my god, not nail, rail. Anyways. I placed 3rd and 5th in the equitation classes in WEC that were like out of 10. So that was a big accomplishment. And we placed a little bit in just hunters, but again, Bobby was a little quarter horse, and WEC is a big, big place for warm bloods. So, you know. At that same show, a bunch happened with my point of view on things. Just, regarding my lease and where I was at the moment. I love my old barn. I would go back if I had my own horse. I wouldn't go back if I didn't. It brought me to where I am, definitely. But they couldn't bring me any farther at the point without me leasing a very, very expensive horse. I was 13, I couldn't even work for child laws, so you know. And just some personal things happened at that show, so we decided to in August we decided to end my lease. We talked to the owner. We are really good friends with her. We love her. Still would love to meet her daughter because we only met the mother. Not gonna disclose names on here, obviously, but I would love to meet his actual owner. And I think she's actually back, so I would love to meet her. Anyways, August was a lot. The only reason we switched so fast is we were still planning on staying till December and just getting year-end points. But the reason we switched so fast was because we found another barn in the area. It's not a big showing barn, but it was a barn that had horses that could take me where I want to be and give me opportunities that I would have never gotten if I didn't take that risk, per se. So we still had to stay with Bobby another month in August. We had to stay with him that whole month because we already paid for the lease for that month. My barn got a new trainer, just was not the right fit at all. Bobby got his hocks injected, so he was getting his lead changes back. It's just not working. So we found this rescue ranch that gave me all the opportunities. And second lesson, I rode cider. If I never had rode cider that one private lesson, I'm wondering where I would be right now. That lesson, I fell in love with cider and texted Bobby's owner 2 days later and said, hey, blah, 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 blah. If you want us to pay for another month, we absolutely can. If not, and you're fine with us just leaving right now, I would absolutely love to. At that time, Bobby had been lame. My last lesson, he fell on top of me. Yeah, it was a tough month. Some people say might have been over exaggerating the situation, but mind you, I had been with this horse for 2 years straight. I was the only person riding him. And for him to fall on top of me and just lay there for 2 or 3 minutes and not get up, it was too much. Knowing that horse, he would have never fallen if he could have prevented it, because he always caught himself when he tripped, but he just couldn't that time. We went out for my last free ride and his back leg was limping, so I called it good there and I just said, okay, I'm gonna just have my last fun time with him and just do some groundwork, not ride him, because I did not want to get hurt, especially on my last available date with him. Some people said I must have way over exaggerated that situation, but I promise you that was not any sort of lie. Anyways, continuing on, in September, I started, actually no, I rode cider again and I jumped to 2.6, which is the height I should have been jumping for a year. Anyways, cider went lame for 2 or 3 weeks. We believe she was faking it because it was really like a twitch in the eye, and then for some reason we thought she was lame, but you know, she's also limping on her front leg a little bit. But the reason that we were convinced that every time she does this, she's faking, is because every time she did this, she wouldn't let us catch her and she would just gallop around the field. And you know, if you're lame, you probably should just stand there. You're not going to take off if you're actually in pain. So, you know, obviously if it was a big limp, we would have never worked her, and we didn't. We only did flat. Anyways, September 18th, I believe it was, we took Cider to her first show. My parents were my show trainers, and what's it called? We tried to do hunters with her, 2-3 hunters, the circuit or the division I've been doing the whole year. She hated it. She wanted to kill me. She actually broke a box. They had to bring out their screwdrivers and everything and stop the division. That was really, really cute. She got a 4th and a 5th and some flats. So, you know, I was very proud of her for getting out there, and especially after breaking a box, getting back out there and doing a flat class, because I was not going to push her to jump. Because that was more of a, let's see what's bad for you, let's see what works for you, let's see what doesn't. And at that show, we realized flowers don't work for her. Next show, we brought her in October, do a little bit more work with her. We were a little bit more consistent because she hadn't been lame, and we brought her in October. And we did do the Hunter Derby. We did get over everything except one. We did have a refusal, which didn't let us place in the second round, or like go into the second round. But she got over it, so we didn't break a box, we didn't fall or anything, so I was really happy with that. we decided to do jumpers that show. We did the 2-3 and the 2-6 jumpers. It was my first 2-6 course with her and with any horse really. And we got a 6 in that, and we got a 6 in the 2-3, and we got a 4th in the egg flat. Yeah, I was really incredibly happy with her. That weekend, it was a big turning point for us to see, oh yeah, she really can do a course. It's just she doesn't like flowers. I picked that, yeah. Maybe it was September. Anyways, September or October, I picked up barrel racing. My barn is a big barrel racing place. It's not big, but like, not that it's not big, but like, it's a lot more of a barrel racing like community situation. They still do English, but it's a lot more like a barrel racing area. So I picked up barrel racing, and I did it on this horse named Titan for a while. And then I started deciding that I'm going to reteach Cider how to do it because she has so much training on it. Just the trainer sent her back and said she was too slow. And she has a very bad head throwing problem. And, you know, I love this horse to death, so I was the only one that would put it up with it, especially with her gaits, because they are awful. Anyways, I brought Cider to her first rodeo. She did really, really good, except the reins kept going over her head, and she kept spinning around in circles like a fidget spinner, because she has that head throwing problem. Then in November, I decided to bring 2 horses to the show. Mind you, my trainer was my parents this whole time, and Mackenzie, of course. I brought Aria and Cider. Cider did the 2-6 and the 2-3 jumpers, and she got reserved for 2-3, which is a big turning point, especially since that Friday I was terrified of her. Like, I didn't want to show her. I just wanted to show Aria. I was terrified. I felt like I couldn't control my horse. It was awful. Aria, we decided she has ring stubbornness to 2-foot jumps. She'll do 18 inches fine. She can't do 2 foot for some reason. So I did the 18 inches with her in the Egg Challenge. That show was also the championship show, obviously, championship show. And I didn't place in the championship Egg Challenge because that's what it was. The Egg Challenge was the championship part of it. I didn't place in it just because, oh my God, what am I saying just because? Because, mind you, it was only my second time riding Aria, and I didn't really know how to like put my hands. I really could have put them up farther, but you know, anyways. I'm happy she could even go up into that big of a group because there was like 30 kids in it. And I was proud of myself for even qualifying in that big of a class. Like, my Lord, it was a lot. I was really, really happy that show, especially with Cider, because I was so scared for that Friday. You equestrians know feeling of being scared of your own horses. It's and all in all, January 14th, I'm going to a banquet, and we already have the results of like what we placed in the circuit. Ow. And I got champion for 2-3 hunters, with 218 points. Girl underneath me has 72. Mind you, she did 3 shows like I did, so puts into perspective. They all did 3 or more shows. I think that girl actually did 4. I don't know. No hate to her, it just really shows like how much I really did need to step up for 2-6 and not just stay at 2-3 running around circles. And I got champion for 2-3 equitation. That one came close. Mind you, equitation, there's only 4 classes per show for equitation, like in your division. Especially for long stirrup, there's only 4. Over fences, flat for 2-day shows. And my points were 82 and the girl underneath me had 72. And she did 5 shows. So, you know. Then I did with my little equitation 18-inch event, I did with Aria that show. I got 3rd out of 8. Don't know how, but I did. I was 1 point behind reserve. If I did the jumping portion of it the first day, would have place higher, but you know, I'm even surprised I got into it and placing top 3 out of 8. Whoa. And then, drumroll please, for the equitation challenge, out of 30 or more I believe it was, I got 4th. I technically got 5th, but 2 people tied. So, I did get 4th, but like, there's 5 riders, but I got 4th, you know? Because like, 1st, 2nd, and then 2 people got 3rds, and then I got 4th. So, you know, technically there's 4 riders ahead of me, just 2 of them placed the same. So, I was super happy with this year. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope y'all had a great year. This was definitely one of my best. I mean, I did have a very rocky road in July to September, but it is so much better, and I'm so glad I found my barn. Thank you, Shannon, again. Yeah, I will see you guys later. Bye. Oh my god, if I can get out of this thing.